What's up, guys? How's it going? Is there no one else here? Bringing you another video today, and I just wanted to go over gear sets, horns of the reach, and build ideas or build options for you guys. As I said before in one of my previous videos, horns of the reach is just going to be like one of the better patches for build diversity. The more we get to balance, the more we get to class balance, gear balance, whatever, the larger variety of builds we're going to have out there. And as I said before, a lot of the changes that they made for Horns of the Reach opens up a lot of doors for different builds. You know, you don't have to run the cookie cutter of what everybody else is running. And so I wanted to go through that a little bit with you guys. I wanted to compare and contrast certain builds or certain sets. Really wanted to talk about Shacklebreaker and Twiceborn Star, for instance. As you guys know, Shacklebreaker, which is right here if you guys want to check it out. Right now, this is one of the most universal PvP sets in the game. A lot of classes are running Shacklebreaker. There's a lot of Magicka Nightblade builds, Sork builds. My Stam Nightblade is running Shacklebreaker. You know, what that 4 and 5 piece does is so valuable. It's not that it's, you know, so much damage for the 5 piece, it's just that it's so much utility. Magicka classes running Shacklebreaker can run Witch Mothers, which then gives them more recovery and sustain. So that's why it's so valuable for them. For my Stamina Nightblade, the recovery that I get for the 4 piece allows me, on top of the damage from the 3 and 5 piece, allows me to slot another weapon damage enchant on my jewelry. So then total overall, I do slightly more flat damage in PvP than I did if I was running Hunting's Rage. Obviously, crit is different. Hunting's Rage hits harder. There's no denying that, but you can't crit shields. There's a lot of people running around with a good amount of impens. So, and on top of that, you can already get crit heals on a Stamina Nightblade if you're running Shadowy Disguise like I am. You pop your Vigor, you hit Cloak, all of your crit heals, all of your heals will crit. Your Vigor ticks will crit after you Cloak. So, you know, a set like Shacklebreaker is a bit more valuable to me for fighting Sorks, for fighting groups that are using Igneous Shield or they're running Barrier. You know, just having flat damage is very valuable. So that's why I was running Shacklebreaker. On top of that, the little extra Magicka and the Magicka recovery allows me to cloak and fear just a little bit more, so that versatility is nice. However, that doesn't apply to everybody and every build. There's some classes out there, namely Stamplars and Stam DKs, that just don't use Magicka skills as much as they use, you know, their Stam classes. You know, yes, you have Purify, yes, you have your Rune, but you're not hitting Purify on a Stamplar as much as a Nightblade is cloaking and fearing. You know, or, you know, in general, that's what I've found. You know, I get by with a lot less Magicka recovery on my Stamplar than I do on my Stam Nightblade. And so, although Shacklebreaker is great and it is really good on a large number of classes, you know, and it's still good on a Stamplar and a Stam DK, a set like Twiceborn Star could be more valuable. And I wanted to discuss that really quick. Twiceborn Star is a 9-trait craftable set, yada yada yada. Max health, max stamina, max Magicka. So universally, this is just a really good 2, 3, and 4 piece. It applies to everybody. And then the 5 piece allows you to have 2 Mundus Stone boons at the same time. This is where we're going to get our damage or our recovery. So if we look at Shacklebreaker, again, really quickly, you get 2,000 max Magicka and 2,000 max Stamina. Let's say we're applying this to a Stam class, like a Stamina DK. Well, we get 2,000 max Stamina for the 5 piece, and we get 129 weapon damage, which is very valuable. Twiceborn Star, we get 1,096 max Stamina right here, which is a little bit less than the weapon damage. This is about 100, 110 weapon damage versus the 129. It's close, but obviously Shacklebreaker outperforms there. But then your Mundus Stones. Even if we run Impen Twiceborn Star and we run the Tower Mundus, we get 2,028 max stamina. And so just running the Tower Mundus allows us with Twiceborn Star to get the same stamina value as Shacklebreaker. Now, on top of that, so now all of a sudden you can see that the damage is very similar with Twiceborn Star, but now you have another Mundus Stone. And if you don't need that 129 recovery, you can then slot something like the Thief, or the Warrior, or the Shadow. And all of a sudden, you're going to be doing a lot more damage with Twiceborn Star than you would with Shacklebreaker, because you can then invest in what you want. Twiceborn Star, I'm not saying it's better, but for certain classes, you guys are going to have to look at your builds, you guys are going to have to look at your setups, and there will be some classes and some builds where Twiceborn Star will be better than Shacklebreaker. For a Magicosaur, for instance, you're running Infused and Divines, right? And so you're going to probably, like a typical build with Shacklebreaker, or for Sorks, is running 5-piece Shacklebreaker, 3 Willpower, Monster Set, whatever. And then you're running Witch Mother's Brew because you get so much stamina. Well, if you run Divines, if you run 5 Divine Twiceborn Star, you will instead, and you run the Mage Mundus, if it's golded out, you will have 3,100 Max Magicka instead of the 2,000. If you run the Tower with it, you will have 3,100 instead of 2,000. And so now all of a sudden you are missing 1 recovery, but as I've shown, the weapon damage versus the Max Magicka or whatever, max stamina from Twiceborn Star to Shacklebreaker is very similar next patch, because they're buffing the max stats for the 2, 3, and 4 piece. Now all of a sudden for a Sork, you could run this and you could have a higher max stat version of Shacklebreaker. And you're already running Divines, like mostly Divines or Infused anyways, to maximize your stats. This could give you more. Now, I'm not saying that's what you should run. There's a lot of versatility in having the recovery, Magicka, and stamina recovery on quite a few classes. The Sork is one of them. But it for a class like a Stamina DK, for a class like a Stamplar, where, let's say you're looking at Shacklebreaker, and you don't need the max Magicka and Magicka recovery, this allows you to get the same damage that Shacklebreaker provides, while also getting more recovery or just more flat damage. And so you get a pick and choose what you want, which is really cool. I think Hunting's Rage for my Nightblade is going to be a better. I think it's going to be better than Twiceborn Star, because they're buffing the 2, 3, and 4 piece. You get more weapon crit, you get max stam, and you get more weapon crit. And so crit is very valuable, especially on a Nightblade. You get 10% more crit damage. Like, that's going to be very useful. However, we're also getting 30 more CP. And so what that means is a lot of people, knowing that people are going to be running Julianos, knowing that they're going to be running Hunting's Rage, these crit values, they're probably going to stack more in Impen. I know I'm going to. I already mentioned it. Like, having a little bit more Impen is going to be useful, so that because they're critting more, they're not going to do as much crit damage to you. You're not going to get bursted as hard. So it's possible next patch that the Hunting's Rage 2 and 4 piece isn't going to be as valuable as I think it is, because people are going to correctly counterbalance it by running more Impenetrable. Which then means that Twiceborn Star could replace that. So now all of a sudden, let's say you're running Hunting's Rage, right? You get 299 weapon damage, and then you get 1096 max stamina, and you get this crit, right? Well, if you want more max stats, you could just run Twiceborn Star with the Warrior Mundus and with the Tower. So now all of a sudden, even in Impenetrable, you're going to get 2,000 stamina right here, and you're going to get 238 weapon damage. Hunting's Rage gives you 299. And so if you're already looking at Hunting's Rage, you get the same stamina value, and now you're just switching out the crit for 2,000 more stamina by running Twiceborn Star. Just options for you guys. I'm not saying this is definitely going to be the best, but like, I'm just trying to provide options for you guys that are looking at different builds, and you're looking at options. And if you are running Shacklebreaker, it is possible that you could value Twiceborn Star this next patch over Shacklebreaker, which is one of the most popular sets in the game. It is possible that Twiceborn Star is going to be more valuable than Hunding's Rage, even with Impen. And on top of that, like I said, we are getting 30 more CP. And so that means we will be able to invest more into Impenetrable in our CP tree, allowing us to run Divines if we want to. Not all Divines. We're going to have to still run some Impen, but maybe there's some non-block casting builds. Maybe, like there's already some Magicka DK builds out there running like 4 or 5 Impen and then like 3 Sturdy. Well, what if you're running a 2H and bow build and you don't need the Sturdy, you don't need the block cost? Well, you run the Impen and then you run Divines so that you buff your max stats or your recovery or your weapon damage even more. There's just a lot of variety here with Twiceborn Star, and it allows you to get exactly what you want instead of having a very good but universal set like Shacklebreaker. That's going to be the end of my video. I'm actually really excited about the combinations that you can fit with this. If you want to run more physical or penetration, physical and spell pen, you could run the Lover, which would be really cool. If you wanted to have just more max stats, you could run the Mage and the Tower with a couple Divines. That's gonna give you more max stats than Shacklebreaker because the 2, 3, and 4 piece for Twiceborn Star is giving you max stats instead of weapon damage. And so you're gonna have that plus the 2,000 plus that you're going to get from running those Mundus Stones. So you're gonna have more. You can run more max stats with Twiceborn over Shackle. Yeah. So, anyways, something to get you thinking, something to get you considering for your builds. But if you're a 9-trait crafter, it's kind of an exciting time for PvP at least because these Mundus Stone bonuses are allowing people to really pick and choose what they want for their build. So that'll be it. If you have any questions or comments or whatever, please provide it in the section below. Thank you. Have a nice day.